I don't know what else to say. I just, he's just the kindest person I'd ever met.
He is so smart and so kind, so so nice for me. And no too much talk. And I just, as it is. You are you.
His main theme is the title of his book, Appreciate Your Life. Always stressing that this is it, that your life is the way, the Dharma. And I appreciate that. He used that word appreciate over and over, which for me was, you know, just see it as it is. And if you do, then you're going to love that.
Maezumi Roshi was so heart-connected with his students, and I think he was, had a huge capacity to relate to very different kinds of people.
He said, just be happy. That's the most important thing in your life, is just to be happy. And he was very free-spirited, and he did what he thought was for the greater good. He really followed his heart. I see it in his life. I mean, at the time, I thought he was just being a very absent father and not a good husband, and my mom was sad, and we all missed him, and he missed our birthdays, he missed holidays, but now I can see what he was doing.
You know, he'll go down in history as one of the most important teachers, masters in the West, bringing the Dharma to the West.
I just remember really how deliberately and present he did everything. Well, he worked in the yard a lot. He loved making rock gardens. And just the care that he would really meditate on each rock and find out what it was, how it wanted to be, and how they wanted to be together. And I remember waking up really, really late. I'd already gone to bed and he was still awake. And he was washing all the dishes and then putting them in the dishwasher. And I was just like, Dad, that's what the dishwasher's for. You just put them in the dishwasher. And he's like, no, I'm making it easier on the dishwasher. And there was something of that mentality in everything he did, to just really, wherever he could help, anything.
En dit is een zender om van te dromen.
Ja, dat is ongelooflijk.
Ja, als je zoiets zou kunnen bouwen.
Dat heb ik wel regelmatig gezien. Dat dan was er een hele groep met Maezumi Roshi bezig. En dan moesten die stenen dan zo liggen. En dan wrikken en zo. Weet je wel, een hoop man. En dan was het toch net niet, weet je wel. Dan moest het allemaal weer een klein beetje anders.
In Sojiji, they call it cultivated casualness. Basically, Maezumi Roshi was a very, meticulous person, but he also had a very casual air about him, which made it very welcoming for people to come in. A lot of his translations are here. He would translate things like the Heart Sutra, and they're all in scrolls inside this stupa, which came from his brother's temple.
Another one of Maezumi Roshi's calligraphy.
Oh, that's one of his, huh?
Yeah. So it was interesting, this being one of Maezumi Roshi's, two main temples.
Ik vind het een hele magische plek. Ook omdat ik zo weet dat het deel is van Maezumi Roshi's droom om een trainingstempel te hebben in de bergen. Ja, je staat dus eigenlijk nou in Maezumi Roshi's droom. En wat hij graag wilde volbrengen hier.
Bringing the Dharma to the West was the most important thing in his life. And I thought that was a very admirable ambition.
How long did you live together?
Well, 1975 until he died in 95. So, 95. Only 20 years.
Then who is that I? We come back to that most fundamental question. Who is this I? Well, that's what I'm thinking to talk about, say, as a conclusion of this session. No, even I can talk about it now. Who is this I?
Well, it's our 40th anniversary, and it's also a chance for all of us to get together. So the White Plum teachers meet every year, and they're usually fairly small meetings. So years ago, about 4 years ago, I had reserved this year because I knew it would be our 40th. And I thought, I guess one of my main motivations was, here we are, it's 40 years, Maezumi Roshi's been gone for 12, we're all getting older. And to see the vows of our teacher manifesting, these are the intentions, the subtle intention of Maezumi Roshi is just all these people coming together.
1963, I looked up in the phone book under Zen to see if there was a place to practice. And there was a temple called Zen Shuji. And Maezumi Roshi did not speak very much English, very little. And after sitting, we had tea, and I asked him, Maezumi Roshi, what's the reason for the walking that we do? That was the first time, because I'd been practicing on my own, and I was just doing Zen meditation. First time I encountered a walking meditation like that. And he looked at the young monk and said, you tell him. And the young monk said, when we walk, we just walk. That's what he said. And that was Maezumi Roshi.
Everyone, we need to stop all evil, to practice good, to liberate all beings, and to accomplish the good always.
And someone sent a flyer, and the flyer was Zen living ain't easy. And there was a picture of a woman laughing, and it said year-round training program. And I thought, well, this is really interesting. I just got involved in Zen at the time. And I came down here and met Maezumi Roshi during my first stay here.
I think at the beginning I was hoping for a better philosophy or something like this. So when I went in and took the initiative.
I was living as a hermit off in the mountains, and I was just doing the normal thing of meditating 4 hours a day or so, chopping wood, carrying water. And one gentleman showed up one day, and we had a chat, and he said, you know, I think it's time for you to meet a teacher. And I said, well, funny thing you should say that, because just 2 days ago, I had this experience where I knew it was time for me to meet a teacher. And then I laughed, and I said, well, how am I going to meet a teacher out here? I'm 5 miles from nowhere. So we drove out, and we called the Zen Center, came down to Los Angeles.
In those early days, there was just 2, 3 of us sitting in the morning. And in fact, in '69, he went back to Japan to spend a year with Yasutani Roshi to finish his studies. And in that year, he put me in charge. So in '69, I was the one giving talks here, giving the interviews. So it's before we knew about formal ways of becoming teachers.
And of course, at that time, ZCLA was very vibrant, it was big. It was the 1970s, when people were leaving homes and all coming to live, you know, on Normandy Mountain. And Maezumi Roshi was sort of the hub, you know, of the wheel of this particular configuration of practitioners.
I was working in the garden as his assistant, and he was doing a rock garden, and he was actually moving rocks around, and he had me move the rocks. They were big, I mean, the garden's full of them. And he said to me, do you have a teacher? And I said, no, I don't. He said, well, who have you studied with? I said, well, I haven't studied with anybody. I've been living alone in the mountains, just sitting on my own. And he then said, well, who have you read? What have you read? And I said, well, I've read D.T. Suzuki, and I've read Alan Watts. And he looked at me and he said, Alan Watts, he's not Zen. And I was like kind of taken back, because Alan Watts, to me, was very Zen. I loved him. And he says, oh, and I told him, I said, you know, I want to leave this afternoon. I want to quit the session because I'm really not finding this to be true Zen. He said, what do you mean, true Zen? And I said, there's so much bowing, you know, bowing to statues and bowing to people. And I said, this doesn't seem like Zen to me, you know. Now, of course, D.T. Suzuki, who was a Rinzai teacher, didn't talk much about ritual. And Alan Watts certainly didn't talk about ritual. So my understanding of Zen was omitting ritual. So that's when he said to me, really, what is Zen? And I had this little shovel, we call it a spade, in my hand. And I took the spade and I went into the dirt and I said, just this. And he looked at me and he said, no, your Zen eye is only partially open, not completely open. He looked at me right in the eye and he said, I don't want you to leave. And then he said a third time, I don't want you to go. And he he broke my heart. He really, it was like a dagger, went right into my heart. And I felt like for the first time in my life, I had been spoken to heart. And it wasn't like you shouldn't go, you mustn't go, you committed for a week, you gotta stay. He said, I don't want you to go. And it so moved me that I decided not to go.
Everything's so specialist. So they play the guitar, and the song, and
Study?
yeah, the study also, and the painting. Everything's so, and he can do so best, and incredible. Yes.
And you told...
And also so for girls.
Oh, okay.
They like him?
Yeah, every girl like him.
I see.
Handsome man.
Yes. This picture might be Second War. Everybody worked
In the war, huh? Yeah.
no study, and just for the war. Yes. And at that time, so American soldier and they gave us the Bible.
Yeah.
And a little bit, I think that I'm so Buddhist, and so a little bit so, my feeling is what it is. And I want so, and block it, but so, my mother saw it, so scolded me. What do you do? This is a holy Bible.
Oh.
What do you do?
Yeah.
Yes, I remember so. Yes. So my mother so sweet, and so they accept so everything. So we see already.
Maezumi Roshi had a profound vow to plant the Buddha Dharma in this country, in the West, you know. And although he came as a missionary, really to serve the Japanese American community, things happened that he left the community and decided to open like a zendo to the Westerners, people outside of that community.
Maezumi Roshi had a very strong wish to spread the Dharma.
Japanese never to talk to too much, so and
more inner feeling.
It's, I want to do something,
No,
and never.
But
very
strong.
Yeah, but so, never talk. Yes. Oh, this picture. This is very famous.
In this country, you know, we like to have a say about everything. And from the kind of culture he came from, it was pretty much a hierarchical situation. And then here you had men and women practicing together. And that's not the case in the culture he came from. Men were segregated, and bowing is foreign to people. The Zen eating bowls is certainly very, you know, chanting in a language that's not English. I mean, all of these things, wearing clothes that was not, you know, Japanese kimonos and things like that. It was very, very different. So I don't know what was the most challenging. I really be interesting to ask him today.
And also, I'm Japanese who came from Japan, struggling in this country. close to 40 years. Still somehow I'm putting myself into more pinched position more and more, and not much fun for myself. So in a way, but then in its nature, regardless of what kind of joy I have, or pain I have, or sadness I have, or burden I have, or enjoyment I have, in its nature, it's empty. And being so, I can take it.
This culture that I think always remained somewhat strange to him. Yeah, although he would always say, I'm an American, you know, and I love Los Angeles, he would say.
It was a joke, you think?
Well, no, he really meant it, but we always would laugh, you know. But it must have been such a struggle for him. This house is called the Pine House, and it's the house where Maezumi Roshi lived until about 1979. In this section here, Maezumi Roshi had a room with tatami mats, and this was his office. A very low table, because he always sat on the floor, and sat on the tatami mats and studied here. Every morning he would pause at this altar and offer his prayers and dedication of merit to his teachers and also to his parents. You know, he would always say to us, you know your culture. You know your culture, and it's going to be up to you to figure out the forms for your culture. You know, I can plant the seed. I can work with you in opening up your wisdom, introducing you to the Dharma. You know, plant the seeds. Hopefully it'll form deep roots. But the rest of it, you're going to figure out.
I've only been practicing for 2 years. I'm now getting into my precepts. But the people here in Normandy Mountain, I can never repay them for all that has been bestowed upon me in terms of kindness and acceptance and willing to teach me. And I want to personally, just professionally thank them. And thank you too.
He would say over and over to me that my role was to swallow up all of what he has around Zen and Buddhism, and then to spit out what doesn't seem to work in the West. That he could not make a Western Zen. He's Japanese. So his role was, he would say over and over, I'm a stepping stone. And your role is to study and to take whatever you can and then get rid of the things that don't seem right for this place, this time, this culture.
My feeling when many of the great teachers came here from Asia and set up places for us to train, for a lot of us in those days, in the 60s, we were sort of looking at communal models. What I felt came was a monastic model. Like in the days of Shakyamuni, the Sangha meant just the male monks. I mean, the Sangha was a very clear term. We now use the Sangha in so many different ways.
And then, because I was going to be his first student, and he was aware that this was a new culture, and he wanted to make sure that there was no way that people could criticize my lack of training. So I probably did more liturgical training than most people. I trained in all the various aspects of what Soto Zen calls correct, what Rinzai Zen calls correct. He didn't want there to be any place for people to say, oh, he doesn't. he wanted me to really develop an American Zen. And when it was ready for me to go start the Zen community in New York, he said, I'll stay away for 1 year so that you don't do forms in the way you know I'm going to want them. That he didn't want me to be prejudiced by my understanding of how he would like to see it done. He wanted me to develop it fresh. That's a huge step. And then I started to do all this kind of work in the streets and homeless, different kinds of things. And on one hand, he loved it, you know. He was very, and send reports to Japan about it. On the other hand, inside, you could see it. I was breaking all of the standards, and it was hard. So, but he dealt with that. I mean, he wanted to. He encouraged me to do what I'm doing, and at the same time, I could see there's difficulties. When I mean Zen, or socially engaged Buddhism, my version means working for the people, and doing it in a way which helps them to realize the oneness of life. It's very simple. So what does that form come out to be? I'm completely open to that.
And so we also learn to be very accepting and embracing of each other, because everyone has really kind of a different expression, although we're all part of this one reality, you know. And I think he had a tremendous capacity to be that kind of fluid person, very open person. And you know, I don't encounter that necessarily in all Dharma teachers, but Maezumi Roshi, I think, really had that gift.
He, one time, was having a drink with me, and he looked at me and he said, I hate you. I hate you. And then he looked at the other gentleman who was there with me, which was his attendant, his Jisha, and he said, I love him. I love him. Then he says, I don't trust you, and I trust him. And those things were very painful. That hurt more than a beating. I think a physical beating would have been more tolerable than those kinds of things. So he saw this big ego. I think he had both a like, or we could say, he loved my confidence and he hated my confidence. He would tell me that I love how confident you are, I hate your overconfidence, you know. So that was that kind of love-hate thing that he had with me. So he would come down very hard on me, and I think I needed that. I felt like what he was doing was kind of grinding down my ego to dust all the time.
Did he succeed?
No. But, you know, I think it has gotten ground down a lot in time.
But I think my view was, you know, the teacher is this thing, and like I'm this little thing trying to learn something from him. Because my way of learning was, you know, how I was taught in school. I had no model for like a spiritual apprentice. I had no model. What is that, you know? And then over time, then it was a matter of my bringing myself out and presenting that to him. You know, so there's that process of really exposing oneself, and that's a big thing for people, to have the trust to do that in front of another person.
Serving without being noticed is a key thing. How to do the things you're doing without drawing attention to yourself. Most times we want to draw attention because we want people to praise us, sort of thing. For example, I remember once his saying, you're moving too fast, people are going to stumble. That is, watch the pace that everybody's going on. And even if you can go at a different, faster pace, be careful that people don't stumble. Don't just go at your pace, or watch what's happening. Have your ears open, your eyes open, smell what's going on.
You know, sometimes you want to, you know, it's the last person you want to see, and and other times you're so grateful. You know, you go through all these things so that you do get to this place where it's just your ordinary life. You're just living your ordinary life. And Maezumi Roshi led his ordinary life, you know, with all of us, hand in hand. This extraordinary person, I don't think any of us realized how extraordinary he was until after he died. And then you start to develop a different perspective. There's just something there. I don't know, maybe it's an openness. If I have to put a word to it, maybe the word I would use is openness. There was a genuine openness there. And by open, I mean like open like this, you know, and even if we have a little bit of it, you know, it's still, you can kind of connect with that, you know.
I think after we married, or we were in that kind of relationship, it did spoil the student-teacher relationship. I couldn't really relate to him as a teacher after that, which is sad because I really wish that I'd had a chance to study more with him as a student, and so I lost that.
I think that he's acting as a very I'm still learning a lot from him in the sense that he was such a great, wonderful Zen master and teacher to so many people all over the world, but not very present as a father, and understanding that no matter how wonderful somebody can be at something and have such a wonderful message, you know, there's not always balance, and not everyone is just human, and they have their flaws and their shortcomings, I guess. And to despite the fact that he was such a wonderful person, that, you know, you should strive in life to try and achieve a balance between his teachings and his positive memories are coming through his students as a vicarious relationship now, being able to hear what he may have said about questions I have about life and spirituality I can ask through his successors, because we were too young to really understand who he was.
Now, for me, I feel that part of the integration for us Westerners is that family has to have the same equal passion. We have to have the same equal passion towards family and towards community as we do towards the transmission of the Buddha Dharma. With him, I would say it wasn't really that equal. And in fact, it felt like his passion for spreading the Dharma was his primary function in life. But it was.
I know, even when we went on vacation, we got maybe 1 week a year, and generally we had to schedule the vacation around visiting some Sangha member who was sick or needed counseling or something, so it was hard. It was a hard life.
Good morning. It was our karma to come here and be born right into a Dharma family, and it's not, life is never perfect. I'm really grateful for what I experienced and who he was and who my mother is. She's amazing too. She's the most gentle, loving, and wise and kind person that I know, by far. She won't be angry. She really sees past the veil to other people's motivations and their pain, and she doesn't hold a grudge against people. She's so understanding and compassionate.
think he was a really, really good teacher. And it was really nice this weekend to see all of the old students coming together at the 40th anniversary at ZCLA, and how much they appreciated him, and how much they care about spreading the Dharma and doing good for others because of his teachings to them. And I really hadn't realized it until I saw everybody get together this weekend and listening to what they're doing, and it's all because of Maezumi Roshi. That's what I think was impressive.
Does it matter to you to embrace the idea? Undefined reality is the fiber of the web we weave. It's the hand that rocks the cradle of ideas we believe. And I think to myself that I'm a lucky girl in a crazy
I have a bunch of sad love songs that I could break out for you, but I don't believe in that anymore. And I don't think that that's the way to live your life. And I think that that's just it's just a change in your perspective, in your mind, in your perception of whether you're a victim or whether you can see that you made those choices and you had to learn something. It's your karma. And I do believe that in retrospect. I wouldn't want to be in any of the relationships that I have been in, and I don't think they were healthy in a way, but I loved everybody and I learned a lot about myself. And at this point, I think it's just so important to love. I think that that really is the answer to most problems in the world. It seems like everything, if you can just break it down, whether it's love, it's compassion, it's understanding, and it's peace and harmony, and that's how I want to live my life. And as an artist, too, you put a vibration out into the collective consciousness, and I want mine to be positive, because there's so many people singing sad love songs and, you know, indulging in being a victim, and that's not true. That's not true, and that's not a way to spend your life. So I like to just put out a positive vibration, because you will create the reality that you believe in.
I think to myself that I'm a lucky girl in a crazy world. I think to myself to let love in, it's what you're waiting for. Let love in, it's what you're waiting for. Let love in, it's what you're waiting for. So let love in, it's a miracle. Beautiful to give, but we can't give it if we're living a lie. And it's a long and rocky road, and it's a long and rocky road. Desire is a burden, it's good to unload. And I think to myself that I'm a lucky girl in a crazy world.
I was very close with Maezumi Roshi and was his first Dharma successor, and still, because of the society, Japanese society, there's no way to shift roles and be Piro. He and Trungpa could.
Trungpa Rinpoche looked at me and he said, are you Roshi's attendant? I said, but I guess while he's here for this few days, I guess I am. He says, don't ever leave his side. And whew, again, right into the heart. You know, he just got me. Trungpa had a love for Japanese Zen. His first love, I think, was actually Suzuki Roshi. And he talked a lot about how much he missed Suzuki Roshi and how much he loved him. And then, of course, Suzuki Roshi died in the early 70s. Maezumi Roshi kind of replaced Suzuki Roshi in Trungpa's mind and heart, and it became his great love. And you'll see photos of Trungpa always, that rakusu that he's wearing like this, but it's a much more beautiful one. That rakusu was given to him by Maezumi Roshi.
They were both huge drinkers of alcohol.
And Maezumi Roshi kept pouring Rinpoche sake. And I got very upset because not once did Rinpoche pour Maezumi Roshi. It really upset me that Roshi was being so subservient, so submissive to Trungpa. I got very upset. Well, after that dinner, two of us had to carry Trungpa to the car. And we carried him to the car. We actually literally carried him. And we were driving to Boulder, and Trungpa decided to take the slow road, but over the mountain, so that we came out above Boulder. And we stopped there, and we go onto the lookout, and he shows Maezumi Roshi the city of Boulder. And he says, "This is my little Tibet, and I want to share it with you. I'm inviting you to come next year and teach here, because I'm going to be on a solitary retreat for a year." And Maezumi Roshi agreed to come for that summer. It was a 5-week course. And Trungpa said, "Let us seal this. Let us seal this." And they took their streams of urine and they peed over the mountain and matched their streams. That was just insane. That's the kind of relationship that they had, and I got to witness. They became just great friends.
How was it for you that he was drinking so much?
I didn't like it, but there would be people gathering to drink with him at times, and I didn't join that group. Now, everybody loved to join the group because it was a great way of getting immediate teaching, but of course I had a lot of time with him. And then at one point, he told me, he said, "If you ever join my drinking with me, I will stop." And what he was saying is that he didn't want me to get involved in that. He wanted to drink, but he didn't want me to get involved.
I couldn't always accept it all. Sometimes it was hard to accept the drinking or to accept sometimes certain other behavioral patterns that he had. But we all have these patterns. And it's not about, in Buddhism, it's not about getting rid of these. It's about not disowning them or being one with them.
And there were times I thought of leaving because of it. Yeah. But my desire to learn the Dhamma and my love for him was greater than that, and I stayed.
I do remember just before he went off to the Alcoholic Treatment Center, I went in to see him to say goodbye. And that was such a tender moment. He was so shattered in a way. It's just like, what happened?
Why did so many people leave then when this whole issue was there?
Because they couldn't accept the human qualities. Yeah, they couldn't hold the two, maybe, simultaneously. So they wanted him to live up to some standard that they had.
I had this wonderful experience which has guided me ever since. But I was sitting on the beach and all by myself, looking at the ocean. And I started to point my finger like this, you know, and then all of a sudden my hand just went, you know, pay attention to what you're doing. And so that became my approach to the whole thing.
As long as I hold that my teacher has to be a saint, then I have to become a saint. And none of us are going to be saintly through and through, and if we're honest with ourselves, we know that. The more we repress the shadow sides or the disowned voices or disowned aspects of ourselves, the more those are going to come out in a covert way.
For many people, they say, well, if you're a master Zen teacher, how can you do all these other things? But my understanding of Zen is realizing the interconnectedness of life, that this is all one body. That means everything. No matter what's going on, that's this life. That's Zen. So I can't throw out certain pieces and say, well, Zen is everything but that. That negates what Shakyamuni said, which in our tradition, we say that Shakyamuni, in his enlightenment, said, how wonderful, how wonderful. Everything as it is the enlightened way.
When I think of a lot of the great thinkers and great leaders, they seem to have had a lot of static and a lot of kind of addiction problems and a lot of drama too. They were amazing people, but did struggle with addiction. Pretty much every great writer, every great painter, every great leader that I can think of seemed to have just an extra something to their personality. And I don't drink, and neither does my brother, because there's a lot of alcoholism in our family, so all of us kids are really mindful of it. We don't want to spend our life that way.
After he went through an AA program, in which the whole essence of AA program is you're open with everybody. But that kind of openness is has to be very hard for him. It's amazing to me that to tell you the truth, that he went through that and stayed here and waited for the Dharma wheel to change again. Because I knew what it would be like for him to go back to Japan. He'd have such an easy life. But he stayed here and went through all of that. It was quite amazing.
Do you have any idea why?
His love of the Dharma, that was #1 for him. Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't just to have a better life.
I was in Germany leading a session, and that night I got a call from his wife, Ekkyo, telling me that Roshi had died. She just got a call from Hojo-san in Japan.
And we talked to 1 hour, and after say, and so bye-bye. And early morning, so might be 4 o'clock, and early morning. And I go down and wake up. Wake up. And so no answer. No answer. Yeah.
They probably drank quite a bit. And he went into the ofuro, which he did every night. I don't know whether he fell asleep or went unconscious, but he drowned.
He was so tough outside and so sweetly soft inside. Why? You don't stay here with me and every song I remember. I miss. I miss, and I respect Maezumi Roshi. Yes. ごめんなさい。
Death, usually we don't call death as such for the priest or monk dies. We call Senge, the move, the praise to teach or to share the Dharma. Even heart. In ordinary sense, we say that people passes away, or people passed away. It's a kind of nice way to say. Like in the Japanese, it's kind of an interesting expression. Like when like emperor or these noble people dies, we say okakure ni naru. Okakure means hide themselves, hide himself or hide herself. Kakureru. So the kind of heart disappear from the sight.
Not family-wise, because family-wise his children were too young and they really needed him, and his wife too. But on a dharmic level, he was giving Inca, he gave Inca to Bernie, and his work was done.
I vow to continue the works of Maezumi Roshi and to complete his vows in the United States.
I had this strong sense that he, in some way, felt that his work in promoting the Dharma in the West had come to an end. I have no way of knowing this for sure, but that's the sense I had. And that he needed to step out of the way to let the Western Dharma now move on.
It freed us. It freed Bernie, it freed me, it freed all of us in a way to then come into our own on how we spread the Dharma. I don't think I'd be doing Big Mind the way I'm doing it now if Maezumi Roshi was still alive. I really don't. I think I had too much respect for what he wished, and this is so different than anything that he would have thought looked dharmic, that I probably never would have come up with this. In fact, I didn't come up with this for 5 years after his death.
And my feeling with his passing is that Roshi has really infused himself in all of us, and his work goes on through all of you, through all of us.
What came to mind is one of the sayings that says that the major teaching of a teacher starts when they die. They set a lot of things in motion when that happens. It changed my whole life around. But I could feel him as a guiding point for that shift. You've got to experience and appreciate your life. And that's a very simple thing. But that takes on different forms and different ways of doing that. And so beyond that, we all become quite different, I think.
And I do believe my mom and dad, she never wants to ever be involved with anyone else. They really seem to have been soulmates for each other. And she honors him so much. She's working on a portrait of him right now, and it's been 13 years since he died. And she still dreams about him, and yeah, just they were meant for each other, and it was a hard life for both of them.
Roshi haunts my dreams, and in a way, I'm getting his teaching still. Almost every morning I wake up and he's been there, and there's a teaching that's going on still.
And the wheels they turn. Forget all the lies you've been told, 'cause the truth is golden and it's sweet, so sweet, and it's
this really means it. Say this now. See how this now is manifesting as the continuous practice itself, as the life of Buddha itself. That's what we should appreciate.
And the road it unfolds, the wheels they turn. Forget all the lies you've been told, 'cause the truth is golden.